Well, Andrew, thank you very much for that introduction. And Ambassador, President Jin, Stephen, David, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm honored to address this magnificent dinner to renew our commitment to Britain and Chinese relations, to celebrate the work of the original 48 companies that went out there to break the ice when it came to the international freeze that had been put on relations with the People's Republic of China, to celebrate the new year, to welcome the Year of the Rooster, and to say good riddance to the Year of the Monkey. We're not having that one again. But it is... actually, my daughter is doing Mandarin GCSE, and we have no idea whether she's doing the right things. We just stare in awe and wonder at her homework. And I asked her about the Year of the Rooster, and she was explaining that people born in the Year of the Rooster are courageous, they're talented, and they're very confident in themselves. And I'm surprised that not every politician claims to have been born in the Year of the Rooster. I was going to say we were a parliament of cocks, but I'm not sure that would translate. So we're just a parliament of chickens. But of course, it's also the year of the fire rooster, I think, a very specific in 2017, which signifies a period of immense change. I'm not sure I can take any more change, but anyway, immense change coming out. And it shines like a bright star in the dark sky, and it brings hope to those who act harmoniously, it said, around difficult circumstances. Well, hope and harmony is certainly what the world needs at the moment. This annual dinner, the Icebreakers, celebrates or commemorates those British companies that went out in the early 1950s. So this is long before Henry Kissinger, long before Ted Heath. These original companies that went out there when China, the People's Republic, was under international embargo and began the thaw in relations between Britain and relations between the West and China. And I have just come back from Davos, where it was absolutely freezing, I can tell you. What you saw there was some incredible piece of ice-breaking as the president of the People's Republic of China took center stage at this gathering of Western capitalists and Western leaders and delivered what couldn't have been a more warm and positive message about the importance of international cooperation and tackling the world's problems together, whether it's climate change or economic growth or free trade. And he spoke forcefully, and I think spoke for most of the delegates of that conference, against the forces that would break up that international order and introduce barriers. And he said at that event this: "We must remain committed to developing global free trade and investment, promoting trade and investment liberalization and facilitation through opening up, and we must say no to protection." And it is fascinating. In the year 2017, it is the President of the People's Republic of China who delivers that message to the West. It is, of course, a clear statement of intent from the Chinese government, a commitment to free trade and international order. And it's my very strongly held view that the West, hopefully led by the United Kingdom, should accept China as a full partner in that endeavor. Now, of course, we know in this room that we have differences with China, different political systems, different culture, different history, different set of values. And our interests will not always coincide. But the question I faced as Chancellor 6 years ago, sitting around the National Security Council with some of the people who are actually in this room today, like Danny Alexander, like Oliver Letwin, the question we confronted And the question I continue to confront as a member of the House of Commons today is this: how are we going to handle the rise of China? Now, for 18 of the last 20 centuries, China has been the largest economy in the world. 18 of the last 20 centuries. And in my lifetime, assuming I'm careful when I cross the road and deal with my Conservative colleagues, China is again going to be the largest economy in the world. It's, of course, home to over 1 billion people. It's achieved extraordinary progress in science, in industry. If you want to see what China is capable of, go to the Huawei headquarters, as I did in Shenzhen. Talk to Mr. Ren. Talk to the teams there developing 5G technology. By the way, don't just talk to the teams there in Shenzhen. Go to Guildford. Talk to the teams in Guildford as part of Huawei developing 5G technology. You will see the extraordinary development and progress that Chinese companies are making every day in collaboration with British companies and others. See the incredible achievement of lifting, in my lifetime essentially, 700 million people out of poverty. We have campaigns in Britain called Make Poverty History. Well, I tell you, the globalization and growth of China has been the greatest campaign to make poverty history in the history of the world. How do we deal with this extraordinary rising force of China? Essentially, we have a choice, as all established orders have had over many, many centuries, over thousands of years, when confronted with the rising power. Do you confront that power, or do you seek to cooperate with it? And I think it is overwhelmingly in the interests of this country, it is overwhelmingly in the interests of the Western order that we seek cooperation. And that is what the Golden Era is all about. It is an attempt to undertake an unprecedented cooperation between the United Kingdom and the People's Republic. And I want to pay tribute to the Ambassador, Hu Xiaoming, who's helped me over these years get to the point where we could talk about a golden era in Anglo-Chinese relations. It's been a journey. I remember back in 2011 talking to my then opposite number, Mr. Wang Xishan. His career has gone up and mine went down, but he had more instruments at his disposal than I do, but nevertheless, we talked then about internationalizing the renminbi, about trying to make London an offshore renminbi centre. It wasn't a centre where the renminbi was traded at all. And in the space of 5 years, we've made the UK, we've made London the largest offshore renminbi trading in the world outside of sovereign China. And as we were being reminded by our ambassador here, we saw the Chinese government issue a sovereign RMB bond here in the United Kingdom. And with that comes all the infrastructure, the banks that are represented here, the Chinese banks, all the infrastructure that facilitates finance and trade between our countries. And we should go further with that. Connect our stock exchanges together is what I believe the next great initiative in that respect is. We've undertaken incredible collaboration on infrastructure. It is not an underestimation to say that the Hinkley Point deal is probably the most complicated international commercial transaction in the history of the world. This is a nuclear power station that's going to provide over 10% of all of the electricity in the United Kingdom. It is developed by a French company, Chinese investment, built here in the United Kingdom and commissioned by the UK government. All number of things can go wrong to bring that deal down or to make sure it didn't get off the ground in the first place. But through hard work and perseverance, including by some of the companies here like CGN, we've got that deal established and it's making real progress. And it is an example of what we can achieve together. China and Chinese companies get a great investment in civil nuclear power in the country, by the way, that developed civil nuclear power. EDF, the French company, gets to showcase its technology and make what I believe will be a great investment. The United Kingdom gets to build a nuclear power station without it being paid for upfront by the taxpayer, something that has never been achieved elsewhere in the world. That's one of the most complicated infrastructure deals imaginable. And then, of course, we've got that rapidly increasing bilateral investment symbolized not just by Huawei and CGN and others, but by Bob Dudley's BP, a two-way traffic. And we see the investment from China into the Northern Powerhouse in the north of England, something I'm passionate about myself as a member of Parliament in the north of England. We brought the President of China to Manchester, to the Manchester City Football Club, to see the graphene. That's partly because Manchester United, for some reason, couldn't get their act together. But Manchester City did a brilliant job. And the Graphene Institute we took him to, but it's also British companies, some of whom I've been talking here to tonight, getting involved in the One Belt, One Road initiative and making sure that we are both building each other's economies, both investing in each other's economies, both creating jobs in our economies. But I was always keen, as not just the Chancellor Exchequer, but as a member of that, of David Cameron's government, to make the relationship about more than economics, to make it more than just a transactional relationship. And that's why we work together on a whole series of problems like climate change, like stability in Central Asia and the Middle East, like on tackling terrorism. It was mentioned in passing by the ambassador. But we now have a security dialogue with China, one of the very few countries in the West that does, identifying where we have mutual interests. And of course, it led to the cooperation that led to the United Kingdom being the first major Western power to sponsor and support the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank. And that was a quite pretty straightforward call. China was developing a new multilateral institution. There was a prevailing view, I think it's pretty commonly now known amongst Western powers, that we shouldn't aid the development of this institution. I took the view, crucially supported by my Prime Minister at the time, that if China wanted to play its part in the multilateral institutions of the world, if it wanted to develop its own multilateral institution, just as, by the way, we did 60 years ago with the IMF and the United Nations and the like, then why shouldn't we aid China? Wasn't this a perfect outlet for their energy and their ambition as a great nation? And so we became a sponsor of that body, one of the initial sponsors, and I think Mr. Jin has done an incredible job in putting that organization together, and I congratulate you, sir, on the work that you have done. By the way, it's entirely coincidental, but we've got a very good vice president in Sir Danny Alexander, who went from being sort of vice president of the Treasury to vice president of the AIIB, and he's very welcome here today as well. Now, all of this is never going to be plain sailing. It can't be. We're two proud sovereign nations. Different cultures, different sets of values, different political systems. But we have so much in common, so much mutual interest in creating a stable and prosperous world order that I believe this golden era can go from strength to strength. And I end with this reflection. You know, China and Britain are on opposite sides of the world. One is a small island, another is a continental landmass. But it is difficult to think over the many centuries of two countries that have had such a big impact on the world in terms of its culture and its history and its language and its commitment to enterprise and freedom and business. Now, we once broke the ice together when this group was created. We all have a responsibility, all of us in this room, to maintain those open sea lanes so that we can go on trading and doing business. This relationship does not belong to any one government or any one prime minister or any one president. It belongs to all of us in this room, people who care about our relationship with China and China's relationship with Britain. So long may we work together, and let us now celebrate the Year of the Rooster. Thank you very much.